सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवतो सेवया भागवत उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्ठिके. So today I have been asked to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, verse number 20. The canto title is Status Quo and the chapter is Vidura Approaches Maitreya. So evam aradhit padatirthat adhita tatvatma virodha margah pranamya pado paridratya tevam iha agata aham viraha asuratma. So evam aradhita padatirthat adhita tatvatma virodha margah pranamya pado pavitra tevam iha agata aham viraha asuratma. So myself, evam, thus, aradhita, worshipped. Padatirtha, from the personality of Godhead, Adhita, studied, Tattva Atma, self-knowledge, Vibodha, understanding, Margaha, Patha, Pranamya, after saluting, Pado, at his lotus feet, Paridratya, after circumambulating, Devam, the Lord, Iha, at this place, Agataha, reached, Aham, I, Viraha, separation, Atura Atma, aggrieved in self. Trying to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, which is not meant for them. Bhagavat, Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse number 2. Sripad Siddha Swami, the great commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, has definitely forbidden the salvationists or mourners to deal in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not for them, yet such unauthorized persons perversely try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, and thus they commit offences at the feet of the Lord, which even Sripad Shankaracharya dared not to do. Thus they prepare for the continuation of miserable life. It should be particularly noted herein that Uddhava studied Chatusloki Bhagavatam directly from the Lord, who spoke them first to Brahmaji. At this time, the Lord explained more confidentially the self-knowledge mentioned as the Paramasthitam. Upon learning such self-knowledge of love, Uddhava felt very much aggrieved by feeling of separation from the Lord. Unless one is awakened to the stage of the Uddhava, everlasting feeling the separation of the Lord in transcendental love, as exhibited by Lord Chaitanya also, one cannot understand the real import of the four essential verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not indulge in the unauthorized act of twisting the meaning and thereby putting himself on the dangerous path of offense. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakrumritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamahyam Dadati Sopadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakavanam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sarvajatam Sahagana Raghunanditam Tam Sachivam Sadvitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhambitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vusabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Krupa Sindhu Vaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for joining this class today. Please accept my humble obeisances. So today I have been asked to present about this third canto, fourth chapter, verse number 20, which is a very powerful verse, and I'm trying to follow the instructions of Guru and Gauranga, and my knowledge is very limited, so I might commit some offenses. So I'm asking forgiveness, from all of you. So with all of your permissions, I will try to glorify Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever I have planned to prepare, I will just go through them. So once again, this is a very powerful verse. So let's go to the contents now. So basically here, this is the discussion between Maitreya, Vidurji and Uddhavji. So Uddhav ji is telling Vidurji that Krishna has told me about the Chaturshloki verse, which is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the real translated knowledge, which is Uddhav is describing as self-knowledge. So we must see here that Uddhav ji is telling that my spiritual master Krishna himself told me this transcendental knowledge. So if we see this, Krishna is Uddhava's spiritual master. So basically, Krishna is he's the universal guru. He is as per the verse, Krishna Bande Jagat Guru. So when Krishna himself is telling Uddhava, about the Chaturshloki of Bhagavatam. Initially, when the creation of the universe, first this Chaturshloki Krishna told to Brahmaji. Then from Brahma, then later on Krishna is telling the same Chaturshloki to Uddhavji. Later on in as the subsequent slides, we will see then how Vidurji is inquiring to Uddhavji about Chaturshloki. And when Krishna is presenting the Chaturshloki, Maitreyaji also is present. So Uddhava later on will advise Vidurji to contact Maitreya Muni to have the awareness of the Chaturshloki. So basically, what Krishna told to Uddhav over there in the form of Chaturshloki, that God is everywhere. God is eternal. Before the creation also I was there. Whatever was there, that is Krishna. So whatever I am maintaining the universe, that is also Krishna. After annihilation, whatever is remains, that is Krishna. So basically, Krishna is everywhere. In every atom, every entity, whether it is a dull matter, whether it is a light matter, everything, Krishna is present. But still, if we see that Uddhava is saying in the verse over here that I am aggrieved due to separation. Now, why Uddhava is aggrieved due to separation? This Mayavadis, will never understand why Uddhava is feeling separation, why gopis are feeling separation. Because they don't have any personal relationship with Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like we are saying that we all are serving the deities, we can understand how the gopis have a personal relationship with Krishna. But the Mayavadis will never understand, because for them they do not see any difference between the higher Supreme Personality of Godhead and the ordinary Jivatattva, the devotees. They don't see any difference. For them there is only one soul. Like according to them, everybody everybody is God. I am God, and after after everything is done, I will also merge with the God. So I am God and Narayana also God. Everybody is God. Now, what is Mayavadi philosophy? So as per Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to the material conception of life. A Mayavadi is one who considers the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, to be made of Maya, and who also considers the abode of the Lord and the process of approaching Him, the devotional service, to be Maya. The Mayavadi considers all the paraphernalia of devotional service to be Maya. So basically, the Mayavadi sannyasis, if we see, they read all kind of shastras, they renounce everything for sense gratification. They are very, very topmost jnanis. We'll see that title will be Bharati, Saraswati, and whether our Vaishnava Sampradaya, we see Dasa and Goswami, like that we see. But their concept of the Mayavadi philosophy, the concept of the moksha is, they will after we perform our duty, we will become Bhagavan and will merge with the Brahma Jyoti, and then after becoming Bhagavan, what they will do? Then the enjoyment starts. So Srila Prabhupada says that this is a cheating process. The common man is doing all kind of sense gratification. He is in the household life and he is watching TV. He is doing eating all kind of things. He is doing sense gratification. He was saying them, they give us sense gratification, control the senses, everything. But his goal is to merge in the Brahma Jyoti and later on enjoy. So basically, the Mayavadis, as per Prabhupada, they are the topmost sense gratification. So so that philosophy is, I am God and you are God, and everything is same. Now, often Prabhupada gives an example of a interaction between a personalist and an impersonal devotee. Basically, there will be two devotees. They will be going to a Kumbh Mela. So one will be a pure devotee of Krishna. He will be following that. He will be having a belief that Krishna has a form, and Krishna, he is a soul, and basically he is an eternal servant of Krishna. And he and Krishna, they are not the same. He has that kind of understanding. But there is a Mayavadi sannyasi is there. He is telling, no, everything is same. So, and after we are going to merge with the Brahma Jyoti. So basically, we came from Krishna and we are going to merge with Krishna. So then the personalist devotee, he says, so as per you, then this cloth, whatever I am wearing, and the blanket, whatever is there, that little fabric, the shade of the fabric, everything same. Then Mayavadi Sannyasi says, yeah, Mayavadi devotee says, yeah, everything is same. So later on, when it becomes at night, it becomes very, very cold, and this Mayavadi devotee, he didn't have any blanket. Where our personalist devotee, he has extra blanket. So this Mayavadi devotee comes and asks, hey, you have extra blanket, why don't you give me one? Because I'm also feeling cold. So then this personalist devotee who believes in the Krishna has a form and he is different from Krishna. He says that you earlier told, right, everything is same, so I'm giving you a thread of the blanket. So with the thread of the blanket, you quench your, whatever, you are feeling cold, right, you won't feel the cold after it, because you only told everything is same. So after that, the Mayavadi scholar, he could understand about that, yeah, whatever he was saying earlier, how it is not right, and what this devotee is saying is that Krishna has a form, and this energy and Krishna and the devotee, he could understand it. Now, Prabhupada in the purport here has mentioned about Sripad Shankaracharya. So basically, Sripad Shankaracharya, from whom this, he is actually ranking as Lord Shiva. So he appeared as, because Krishna instructed Lord Shiva that you appeared and you helped me in my mission. So in Padma Purana Uttarakhanda, it is mentioned here, Mayavadam asatyastram vachanam bodham upasate mayava kalpetam deve kalo brahmana rupina. So Mayavada or Advaita philosophy is an impious, wicked belief and against all the conclusions of the Vedas. It is only a covered Buddhism. My dear Parvati, in Kali Yuga, I assumed the form of a Brahmana, which is Adi Shankara, and teach his imagined philosophy. Later in same Uttarakhanda, letter verse, Lord Shiva has explained here, in order to bewilder the atheists in Kali Yuga, I describe the Supreme Person Godhead, Lord Gauranga Krishna, to be without any form and without any qualities. So during the 8th century, what was happening, because of the Kali's, influence of the Kali, the language of the Vedas were misinterpreted. So if there will be lot of fire sacrifice everywhere, and there will be lot of slaughters and lot of killing of the animals for the name of the fire sacrifice. So then there was kind of disharmony all around. So to stop the animal killing and the slaughter, Lord Buddha came. We see that in Jaidav's incarnation story, that the incarnation song, Lord Buddha also is an incarnation. So Lord Buddha came in that form. So he spoke against the Vedas because his purpose was that time, as per the situation, to stop the animal killing. So Veda was encouraging animal sacrifice. So when Lord Buddha came and preached about stopping the animal killing, so then people started rejecting the Vedas and these karma kandas. They rejecting Vedas and they became nasty. So then that time the aesthetic philosophy was prevalent in the society. People totally forgot what is Veda and what is the Veda's rules were, whatever the Veda. So they became, there is the situation in the that time was kind of like Gnostic kind of thing. They were not believing on anything. So to re-establish Veda, then as per the Padma Purana, then Shankaracharya appeared. So Shankaracharya why appeared? His appearance was just to save people from the Buddhism and from the Gnostic philosophy, but he did it in a different way, in a reflected way. He did the way he did, he was just spreading the Maya philosophy. But that time, during that place and circumstances, it was needed that time. So then later on what happened, there's a misconception started between common people that Brahma, when it comes in the contact of the nature, in the material nature, so either it becomes a jiva or it becomes a dull matter, or it becomes God. So when they say that when Brahma comes in contact with the mode of passion, then Brahma becomes jiva. Later in other aspects, when Brahma comes in contact of mode ignorance, it becomes dull matter. When Brahma comes in contact with mode of goodness, it becomes Narayana. But in Bhagavad Gita, we see that Krishna is beyond the three modes of material nature. Material energy comes out of Krishna, but material energy can never, touch Krishna. So Krishna, we all have seen in the earlier, discussion, Krishna has two different types of, energies. One is Yogamaya energy and one is the Mahamaya energy. So basically, Yogamaya energy, it will, yoga you. It will connect you. It will connect you to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a favorable way. It will bring you closer to Krishna. Mahama energy, due to the illusory effect. You will feel that what if everything is you will try to forget Krishna. Basically, you will go away from Krishna. It is not favorable to you. So basically, because of the will of the Krishna, this Ugama energy and Mahama energy act. So in a separate way, we can see that with your hand, we do so much work. So your hand is kind of you can consider your energy. So with that hand, can somebody come and can somebody bring it to squeeze a snake and to kill himself? No, he won't do. How when a person, then it becomes kind of a suicide kind of thing. So basically, how a controller will be controlled by his own energy. So that way, in Bhagavad Gita, it has been his Sankaracharya philosophy has been refuted. But whatever Sankaracharya has explained, that was appropriate to that particular time for a particular period of time, so that the devotees will come, get connected to Krishna in some different way. So in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned in 7th chapter in the 14th verse, Devihi esha gunamai mama maya duraraya mama eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. The divine energy of mind, consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. But Shankaracharya, he has never told about Srimad Bhagavatam. He has never commented on that. Shankaracharya even said Narayana Paravyakta, the Supreme Lord, is beyond the material encirclement. But due to course of time, the Shankaracharya's the bodies have been misinterpreted by the modern speculators. So basically, Srila Prabhupada always says the Shankaracharya is a devotee. Shankaracharya basically is a covered devotee. Shankaracharya means he is the incarnation of Shiva. Shiva is the topmost Vaishnava. We say that Vaishnavaram Jatha Sambhu. So since Shankaracharya came as a form of Shankara, he is a devotee, and he has totally true devotion to Supreme Personality of Godhead. He composed so many hymns to glorify Krishna. So he wrote Jagannathastakam. In Jagannathastakam, there is a line that Rasanandi Radha Sarasya Bapura Alingana Sukha. If Shankaracharya is not a devotee of Krishna, he is not understanding that. How could it write in such a beautiful line that Krishna is longing for loving glances and loving embraces of Srimati Radharani? Enter Jagannathastakam. If we see about the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan and how Krishna is missing the Radharani. All those things are mentioned over here. But Shankaracharya's main aim that time was to bring men to the standard of the devotional service. But the time and circumstance in which he was preaching, he could not place his real object because those times the devotees were unable to understand it. So once later during his old age, Shankaracharya was going to Varanasi along with his disciples. So while crossing Varanasi, he saw that there is a person at the age of 60s and 70s. He is doing severe austerity. He is pressing his head down, leg up, and he is practicing to learn Sanskrit grammar. He is trying to learn these jugglery words and all those things. He's trying to practice. This dhatu, that dhatu. He's practicing how to become a good scholar so that to understand Sanskrit. So looking at him, Shankara laughed, Shankaracharya laughed, and he composed a beautiful bhajan, which I am sure all of us someday in our home and childhood days, our mothers and grandmothers used to play those songs and might have heard. This is Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Modhamate, Samprapte Sannihita Kale Nahi Nahi Raksyati Dukhin Karana. The meaning of this is worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. Oh foolish man, when death will be nearer, this grammatical interpretation, Dukhan Karana, this pratha, that pratha, this kind of argument, this kind of jugglery words will not save you. That will not save you. You please worship Govinda. Here we see that like the verse we have, right? Kalo nasti, nasti, nasti gati another Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, like Harinam, Harinam, Harinam Kevalam, three times he has mentioned. Because why 3 times he has told? Because he was specifically mentioning that Harinam is the most, and there is no other way, no other way, no other way. Similarly, Shankaracharya has also told here, worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. 3 times he has specifically. If he is not believing in this form of the God, why he is saying that worship Govinda? Govinda, as we know, it's a beautiful form of Krishna, where he is Govinda basically he is the pleasure giving to the senses and the cow. He has a beautiful form if like he has a Sam Sundar form which is a cloud, and he wears a peacock feather. If you see the slide, the Govinda form of the Govinda is very beautiful. So he could have said something else. Why he said Govinda? So that actually Prabhupada always, in his lectures, he used to mention always that he should be revered because he is a covered devotee. But his philosophy has been misinterpreted by the modern scholars. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, when we had a seminar in our temple last year, before his disappearance, I think it was towards the March during the Bodh Purnima time, Bhakti Charu Maharaj also referred the same thing, that basically whatever Shankaracharya did, basically it is a foundation to our whatever we are doing now. This is foundation. If the foundation is not there, because if we are constructing a house, if the foundation is not strong, you cannot construct a house; it will collapse. So his philosophy is in a reflected way, and basically when you do a house construction, first you build something downwards. So basically Shankaracharya's philosophy we can take in that way, because that time everything was going in a different direction. If Shankaracharya would not have established, then it would not have been later, it would not have been easy for us. So Shankaracharya, if we see that he has commented on so many bhashyas, he has commented on the Vedanta Sutras, and he has also glorified Bhagavad Gita, but Shankaracharya was very, very particular not to speak anything about Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam elaborates what is the Sakara form, what is the Niskam Bhakti, what is the Premamaya Bhakti, and what is the relationship between the God. Entirely it is about the glorification of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So Shankaracharya did not want to commit any offense to Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he did not dare to speak a single thing about Supreme Personality of Godhead, about Srimad Bhagavatam. But unfortunately, these unauthorized speculators have distorted his whatever he preached, it was misinterpreted that time. So during this, how the unauthorized speculators distort, there is a beautiful story here. Like there used to be a veterinary doctor who used to treat animals. He had an assistant. So the doctor was very, very popular during the villages. So whenever there is some problem with any animal, any cow, any goat, or any horse, he used to go and cure them, and everybody used to love him. So he was nicely established. But his assistant was very, very jealous about him. Always he is thinking, yeah, one day I could be just like this doctor. He was just watching what the doctor is doing. So one day, the nearby rich landlord's horse, he was some issues. So he has some swelling in his neck. So this doctor was invited to take a look at the horse. So the veterinary doctor went there to see the horse. He saw there is a big swelling on the horse neck. Then he asked the assistant to help him. So he opened the horse mouth, and the assistant put torch, and he saw, yeah, there is some kind of swelling there. So he asked the assistant, give me a small hammer. So from the bag, surprisingly, this assistant took a small hammer and gave him. So little bit, this doctor patted on the horse neck, and after some time, the horse was happy. Horse started galloping, and everybody saw that the swelling has gone. So everybody was very happy. The landlord was happy because it was very close and dear horse to him. So he gave lot of Lakshmi to this veterinary doctor. Looking at all those things, this assistant was very, very furious. He did not do anything. He just hammered, and he did not even give any medicine. Nothing he did, and this horse is open. So it is so easy. So next day he decided that I am also going to be a doctor like him, and I am going to treat on my own. So next day morning he announced that, yeah, I am going to treat. I am also a veterinary doctor. I am also qualified. So he started treating on his own without taking the doctor's assistance or doctor's advice. So then when the villagers knew that, yeah, we have another doctor, sometimes they used to go to this assistant. So he cured. So anybody come, any cow will come with the bruise and any fair, and any goat will come, any animal will come, any horse will come. He'll just take the hammer and he'll hit. But nothing happened. The situation become more and more aggravated. And sometimes, the horse and small animals, they also died. Then the common villagers, they got very mad, they complained. Then the doctor, heard about it. So the doctor came and asked the assistant, hey, what is going on? Why are you treating the patients on your own? You don't know anything. Then the assistant told, but I saw you one day that you are hitting with a small hammer and the horse got cured. So I am doing the same thing, but I don't know that why the animals are not getting cured. Then the doctor explained everything is situational. That horse that day he swallowed a big watermelon. So the watermelon was on his neck. It was so he was kind of choking. So with the hammer, when a little bit tapped, the watermelon became small pieces, and the horse could swallow and he became fine. But in your case, the situation could be something else. So you cannot apply that same kind of treatment with everybody. So basically, the same way we can see here that this Sankaracharya, like this doctor, this veterinary doctor, he was he was bringing this philosophy that time to bring everybody close to God. But this his disciples, in the form of this assistant, later on misinterpreted them, and they totally presented a different story. So Sanatana Goswami, in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he has totally he has condemned about this kind of Mayavad philosophy. He has written, I was reading in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is mentioned here as per Sanatana Goswami, the half-awake fool that proclaims everything is Brahma takes birth again in a terrible hell. Here also in the purport, Prabhupada has explained about Andhata Mishra, that who misinterprets this kind of, that Krishna is formless. Basically, he enters into the hell. Now next we are going to see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, converted entire a Mayavad cult who was led by Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we know that he is an he is no other than Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, and his main mode of preaching was by chanting Harinam and by the devotional service to Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to do Sankirtan, and he used to he went to Varanasi. So then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing his Sankirtan in Varanasi, lot of devotees are getting attracted to him. They are getting attracted by looking at his beautiful form, and some of them are attracted by the Sankirtan movement. That time Varanasi was Mayavad scholars were very, very prevalent. It was a place of knowledge kind of thing. So there are thousands of disciples where they were learning all the Vedas, Vedanta Sutras, were headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. So if you see the title here is Saraswati, right? Saraswati means he is very, very learned. He is learned and he is very, very knowledgeable. So when Prakashananda Saraswati disciples came and they told that there is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and he is doing Sankirtan in the streets of Banaras, then Prakashananda Saraswati little bit undermined it. And for them, this Patu Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, this devotional service and everything, this is kind of a sentimental approach. They are kind of little bit fools. Real tattva is, they have to understand his Vedanta. He has that kind of proudness that, yeah, we are Jnanis, we know, and this, we know. So somehow some of the disciples, they heard about it, and they were little bit, very, very upset that why he's saying like this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they told about like this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initially did not react that much, but later on, there is a disciple who felt very, very offended. So as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhakta Balsa, and he cannot tolerate any offense committed towards another Vaishnava. So he then, a meeting was arranged between this Mayavadi sannyasis and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in Banaras, in a very nice place, this Mayavadi sannyasis were gathered for some kind of fasted discussion. So that time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed his legs, feet, and he sat down on the place where the shoes, all the shoes are kept. So then Prakashananda Saraswati, looking at this, by Lord's humble approach, his heart got melted. So he came out and requested, no, please, why are you sitting here? You are also a sannyasi. You also took sannyas from the Bharati Sampradaya. So please come. You are also sannyasi. Please come. So please come. Let's discuss. So politely he invited him. His heart melted that time by looking at Lord's humility. Then Prakashananda Saraswati asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that why you are you are a sannyasi, but why you are preaching about giving preference to the Sankirtana movement more than starting this Vedanta Sutra. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply smiled while looking at this question. He told that I have taken the Sankirtana movement instead of the starting of the Vedanta because I consider myself a great fool. And he repeated, because I am a great fool, my spiritual master asked me not to play with Vedanta philosophy. My master told me better that I should chant the holy name because this holy name will deliver from me from this material to material bondage. In this age of Kali, this glorification of Lord by uttering the holy name is the most important. So my spiritual master has taught me one verse, that is Harer Nama eva kevalam kalo nasti eva gati anyatha. So the meaning is, in this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name of the Lord Hari. So then then I asked my spiritual master that I am chanting and doing all these things, because while I am chanting, I am becoming very, very mad. Sometimes I cry, and the torrent of tears are coming from my eyes. Sometimes I laugh in ecstasy. People think, and sometimes I roll on the floor. I hug this person, that person, and sometimes people think that I am a mad person. So my spiritual master then told me that these are the transcendental emotions, which is the effect of chanting the holy name. You are properly situated. This is the sign of Lord, which is the ultimate goal. So then Prakashmul Saraswati was kind of little bit convinced. Then he asked, then what is the, why you can do this, then what is the wrong in Vedanta Sutra? You can do this chanting and do simultaneously Vedanta Sutra also. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, looking at Prakashmul Saraswati's inquisitiveness, he opened it to more deeper. Then he started the discussion about this, what is really Vedanta Sutra. Mahaprabhu explained that Vedanta Sutra are the transcendental words that are uttered by Swayam Krishna himself, so definitely they have to be glorified. But the Sankaracharya's interpretation, whatever you are following now, has no direct bearing on the Sutra. Therefore, this kind of commentation spoils everything. So everything, whatever is spiritual world, is full of bliss. Like his form is beautiful, his body is beautiful, his place is beautiful, his paraphernalia also is beautiful. So Mahaprabhu then explained that, yeah, that is the real truth. Whatever we are doing in accordance to the devotional service, if we do, that is the real truth. So anyone who accepts the transcendental body of the personal Godhead as something mundane, then he commits the greatest blasphemy. So after this, Prakashmul Saraswati was and all his disciples were convinced that what is absolute truth. They could understand that, yes, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also, by this discussion, they could realize that they have to do all whatever their knowledge in accordance with the devotional service to approach God. So later on, they all joined Mahaprabhu Sankirtan movement, and all of the sannyasis headed by Prakashmul Saraswati, they were later on converted into the cult of bhakti. They also they believe that Krishna has a form, and the devotional service is the best method to approach Krishna. Now, next one, we can discuss about little bit about how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was liberated. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a topmost impersonalist during around Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. He was a Mayavad philosopher, and he was a student of Shankaracharya. He was very, very learned. That time, he was so much learned that people from, he was a learned scholar first of all from Navadip, then later on he has come to Jagannath Puri, because that time Jagannath Puri was the number one place of pilgrimage and shastrik that time, and people that time used to come from all around to take spiritual advice and knowledge from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. A lot of devotees, a lot of people that time were thinking that he is like an incarnation of Brihaspati. So he was so potent that king that time appointed him as a spiritual advisor of Jagannath temple. So anything Jagannath temple will happen, it has to be first consulted with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And himself, King Prataputra there, was his disciple. So you can imagine that time. Now what is the situation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? Basically, he is all in all that time in Jagannath Puri. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he took sannyas, taking the then his mother Sachidevi's permission, he came to Jagannath Puri. So when he came to Jagannath Puri, he entered to Jagannath Puri, and when he entered, looking at the Samsundar form of Jagannath, he fainted. So that time Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was around. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, along with some of his assistants, he took him to his house, which is nearby Jagannath temple. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, looking at this young sannyasi, he was kind of bewildered. He saw such a glow is coming from this sannyasi. He fainted. Then he saw that he is alive. Then after some time, he tried to bring him to his consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sensed, but he lost his external consciousness by looking the beautiful form of Jagannath. So those things Sarvabhauma was not understanding. Then all of a sudden Nityananda Mahaprabhu came and they started chanting Harina. While hearing the Harina, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like got into this consciousness. Now, looking at these interactions, all this of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has developed some kind of affinity and affection towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya, he thought that he's such a young sannyasi, he's only at the years of 24, and he is so loving, and he's kind of like glowing, and he looks like somebody heavenly soul has come. But I'm little afraid that if this is a sannyasi and he is a personal sannyasi, he has not studied any Vedanta Sutra, he doesn't know anything. So let me teach him some Vedanta Sutra, so that if he converts of the Shastra, right, this Maya angle won't catch him, and he won't he won't fall down from his practices. So out of affection, he thought that he is going to help Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to maintain his austerities. So he then there was his other disciples like Gopinath Acharya was there. He explained him. He is showing Krishna himself. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did not believe. He told, no, Krishna is actually he was in other 3 yugas. Krishna is not here. Then Gopinath Acharya tried to explain him that he comes as a Chinna avatar. That as a form of devotee, Krishna has come. You need to understand. But Sarvabhauma did not agree. He told, we will see that later, what he is. So he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the other day that you have come here, so my duty is now to protect you. So you stay with me. I am going to explain you the Vedanta Sutra. So looking at the affection of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhakta Basal, he agreed. Yeah, I will listen to you. So 7 days inside Jagannath temple, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explained the Vedanta Sutra philosophy to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was saying that this person is quietly sitting and not saying anything, this young sannyasi is not doing anything. So after 7 days, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, did you understand anything? As I am telling you from 7 days, did you understand anything, or you did not ask me any question? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that yeah, I understood everything, whatever you told, but then he told that it is clear to see the truth of Vedanta Sutra. It is not that hard. It is just like it is so clear because Krishna has himself told. And it is just like the sun in the middle of the day you are seeing him. But your interpretation is like a dark black cloud obscuring the real meaning. Basically, what is the real meaning? You are covering it. So Sarvabhauma was confused, was dumbfounded. He asked, what do you mean by did not understand? Can you explain in a better way? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took permission of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and he started explaining Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya what is the real Vedanta Sutra. Basically, the real Vedanta Sutra is, if you see in the Veda Anta, at the end, the essence is to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself explained him that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the absolute truth, and only through the pure devotion one can attain his mercy. So he explained in such a nice way that whatever Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has presented his theology earlier, Mahaprabhu refuted everything one by one. So at the end, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was convinced. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya could understand what is the absolute truth. Then later on the next step, after he understood and he paid obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his home, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his Sadhabhuja form to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Now if we go to Jagannath Puri, you can see the Sadhabhuja form, whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown to Sarvabhauma, you can see it over there. So later on, Sarvabhauma started, all his disciples who were there, Sarvabhauma tried to explain them all the scriptures only in accordance with the pure devotional service. So that was the transformation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So we have seen earlier that Sarvabhauma was a pure Brahman. He was very nasty Brahman. He will do everything as per the Shastra. He will take bath early morning, do all his chores and everything. So after a few days passed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got a small Jagannath Prasad for him very early in the morning to Sarvabhauma's house, because Mahaprabhu was very, very affectionate. So he got Mahaprabhu some prasad. So he saw that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has not finished the daily morning chores. So he gave Sarvabhauma prasad. Sarvabhauma immediately woke up from the bed and he jumped and he started honoring the Mahaprasad without any washing his hand also. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, what is he doing? He is an Astik Brahman. Earlier, without taking bath 3 times, he won't, and reciting his Gayatri, he won't eat anything. And now, without washing his hand, he is eating Mahaprasad. So then Mahaprabhu asked, what happened to you, Sarvabhauma, and why are you doing like this? Then Sarvabhauma explained to him that I have understood now that there is no difference between Jagannath and Jagannath Prasad. Everything is, I have understood now the importance. Then he quoted a verse from the Padma Purana. Praptamatrana bhaktavyam natra kala vicharanam. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is also mentioned that Sarvabhauma has responded to him that one should honor prasad as soon as one receives it, whether it is dried up, stale, or brought from afar. In this, there should not be consideration of time or circumstances. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought that my mission has been fulfilled. I could explain what is the real truth, and now he is conversant in the real truth. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was happy after his dealing with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So often Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his will explain to all his disciples that that we should avoid listening from the Mayavadis. He always speaks. He always tells to his disciples that Mayavada Bhashya Sonile Hoy Sarvanas. Mayavadi is always in aparadhi of Krishna because they don't believe in the form of Krishna. So now I think we're trying to end now. So I'll try to end in 2-3 minutes. So now at the conclusion, we can see here that the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of questions here. Now Uddhavaji also had inquired about Chatusloka and Krishna explained about the Chatusloka. Now these questions entirely in Bhagavatam, if we see that Saunak Muni and Sutta Goswami, everybody asked, even Parikshit Maharaj also asked at the question. All these questions are asked for the welfare of the human society. Now Uddhavaji asked a beautiful question and Krishna explained. This explanation is for whom? This explanation is for not for only Uddhava. It's for entire human society. It is for us. By understanding this, we all are getting purified and we are understanding about Krishna and our relationship with Krishna. So Uddhava got the self-knowledge which is very much transcendental. Now in day-to-day life, we have so many questions. The students go to school, they ask questions. The nurse come to treat us, they ask questions. We ask questions to the doctors. We meet a chartered accountant about our tax filing, we ask questions. But how many of us ask about the self-knowledge to anybody? We don't do that. So for asking the self-knowledge or for getting the self-knowledge, we don't go to the university. Basically, we have to approach a pure devotee. Like Uddhava is approaching Krishna here, and later on Vidura is approaching Uddhava and Maitreya. So like this, we have to always approach a pure devotee from whom the knowledge which comes through the parampara system. So often, I was hearing it in a lecture. This parampara system is kind of, picking mangoes from a mango tree. In the mango tree, there will be ripened mangoes. Some person will go to get mangoes from the mango tree. He will try to throw the mango down so that he will come and eat later. The mango will fall down on the floor. It will be bruised, and sometimes skin will come out, so it will get damaged. But the ideal way is how the funds they do. One person will go to the mango tree. He will get the mango. He will pass it down. The other person will pass it down to another person. Like that it goes, and at the end, the other person who gets the real ripened and juicy mangoes. Similarly, this knowledge which comes to the spiritual master in his succession is very much ripened. If we see here, because in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned, because of the parampara system, first Krishna told to Suryodev, then it goes to the Manu, and like that at the end we all are getting the nectar out of it. And when we hear everything from a Suddha Bhakta, then it is more nectarian. Why it is more nectarian? Because the Suddha Bhakta is applying to see the Lord. He is applying a balm of Premanjana. Like we see, it's a Premanjana. It's in Brahma Samhita it is mentioned, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. With applying the balm of love, he is seeing the Lord and he is conveying that message to us. So that is more ripened. So Shankaracharya here, as Prabhupada has mentioned, he did not comment on Srimad Bhagavatam or Chatusloki. What his disciples tried to attempt it. So they have basically, Vasudeva has also told, they have no qualification to comment on Srimad Bhagavatam because they do not have the loving exchange. The real purpose of Bhagavatam and Vedanta is to know the Supreme Bhagavan, who is Krishna. Basically, for the Vedanta, the subject matter is to be known as Krishna. Krishna is the main subject matter, but other than that, they are doing everything else other than doing the real subject matter. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedasya sarve aham eva vedya vedanta. Krit veda veda eva chaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known, Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So from the tree of Veda, the sweet and ripe and juicy fruit is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is basically the glorification of Supreme Personality of Godhead and his relationship with all the devotees, which is the essence of all the Vedantas. So with this, I want to end here. So if you have any comments, any corrections, or any reflections, you can now unmute and you can tell me here also. Thank you so much.